What is happening, sports fans, esports fans, whoever you are out there watching us? It's early. It's about 6:15 Eastern now, but I am on here with my main man, Mr. Jason Malmanger, and we are back to talk over some more League of Legends. Different league this time, though. We got the LEC, not debuting, but starting their season off today, and we have some massive DK contests. I mean, massive. We've got the 555. It's like an 850-person contest, 100K up top, plus they get an entry into the Tournament of Champions. I don't, before you start talking, I don't really like how they made like this massive slate for the LEC, just because like the Chinese leagues, I feel like are the main LOL leagues. They play every day. People are most accustomed to them. I like them the best. I think they're the best leagues. I'm not complaining. I just think it's bizarre that they decided to do it like today. Maybe it's because it's a day slate. What's your take on it?
LEC is kind of the premier league in terms of production value and timing. Okay. The casters in the studio and the content they produce is probably the best out of any. So again, it's going to be a day slate. So to DK, that helps out. It gets more people into it. For everybody else, it is a 5-gamer instead of the 2s or 4s that we'll see overnight.
So before
the thing of it is it's just like it's the opening slate. Teams have made roster changes. You're looking at all kinds of stuff in motion and in flux, and we don't have a whole lot of background that we can look at for some of these new guys. So yeah, maybe I wish it was 2 or 3 weeks down the road where we at least have a little more balance, but it's what they did. So
I didn't even think about how it was like the opening slate. I just had a point on something. Oh God, you made a point, and I lost my train of thought. It is early, guys.
5-game slate.
Oh yeah, so I've been internally debating this for the past day or however long, for a while actually. The 2-game slates call for a lot of ties, and it's hard to get unique. It's not impossible to get unique though, and the 5-game slates, well, I like them because it gives you a chance to be different because there's 5 games. There's 10 teams to pick from. Obviously, there's going to be more unique lineups. It's also, I don't want to say harder, but like one thing I love about these 2-game slates is basically 9 out of 10 times, if you pick the 2 winning teams, you're going to be making money. Now, occasionally that doesn't happen. With these 5-game slates, that is just not the case because if you get a winning team that doesn't score a lot, there'll be losing teams that outscore them. So it puts a little wrinkle in it, but all in all, it's a good thing because it just gives us more options, less people on the same lineups. I'm pumped to talk this one over. I know we're going to do it game by game, and quite honestly, the first game I think is the game that deserves to get the most love because it has a monster kill total. Both of the teams are going to be popular, and it's hard to stay away from this game, in my opinion. Let me share my screen. All right, that should be working now. And let's just hop off. So, again, I don't know a ton about the LEC. Not that I know like a ton about the LPL, but I've been watching it for at least like a couple months now. The LEC is, I don't want to say foreign to me. I just haven't watched a ton of it. So I'm going to obviously give you the lead for most of this video. I'm pumped to talk this out. Matt and G2, man, where do we begin?
Well, every EU slate used to be called the EU LCS. European League of Legends Championship Series. Now they're called the LEC, the League European Championship. Whatever. Every LEC slate starts in the same spot every time. It's always G2. They're like a tier and a half above everybody else in this league and above everybody else in the West. So it always starts with them. They average almost 21 kills in a win, and they'll come up with 23 deaths and a loss. So they're an action-packed team. They play a lot like the LPL teams we're more used to. They're a power of friendship type of team where they're all over the map. They're one of these good teams that when you see they are losing somewhere else, if there's a gank top lane and the other team tries to get the Rift Herald, they're going to get a dragon, or they're going to group up bot lane and get a turret. That's why you can't really it's tough to ignore or fade any part of the G2 lineup or any part of the game that G2 is involved in.
So G2 is getting like the most love on the slate as of now, but I don't think it's enough, actually. I think they're still coming in under own. They're pretty decent favorites here. What you talked about, they average a ton of kills in their wins. I find it really hard to get away from G2 here. I know that there's a little bit of narrative in play also. I believe Perks' father just passed away like last week. I was reading about that, or more recently.
Yeah, he just posted that on Twitter that he was about 2 days ago or 3 days ago that he was back with the team and was going to be playing this weekend. So yeah, there is a little bit of that narrative, and I would imagine it's kind of funny because not really funny because his dad died, but his teammate Caps, his dad is one of the more famous League of Legends parents.
Okay.
Yeah, his dad and his Cap's dad and mom are always like right there, front row center. You know, come on, buddy, let's go. And so I don't think I'd ever seen or heard of Perks' dad before this. You always hear of Caps' dad, but I imagine he's, you know, this would be the Brett Favre versus Oakland type of game here. I would say. You know, we could see the practice schedule disrupted. We could see, you know, I suppose maybe you give a little boost to your Mad Lions, but I think it'll go the other way around. I think this will be something where, you know, he kind of dedicates this one to his old man and gets things done.
Yeah, so the thing is, he's also, like you talked about, they're really good. They're better than everyone else. And so not only is it the narrative in play, but he's also like the best player out there. And the reason that I'm saying I think they're going under own is not only from the research I've done where it's shown that in the ownership charts I've looked at, but also, have you tried building with Perks at captain? I mean, it is freaking hard. I mean, like damn near impossible. I mean, you got to go with one of the teams that is at the bottom. So people are not going to do that. They'd much rather go with two teams with a better chance to win. I think that obviously G2 gets love because they're a big favorite and they've got the highest kill total on the slate, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that they get a ton of captain love. I don't think they get a ton of love as a full stack because it's just really hard to fit them, man. And this game, all in all, is hard to fade. And I'm the type of person that loves to fade games like this, especially because it's the first game. And, you know, if you fade it and it duds, you're sitting pretty because it has a lot of ownership. But I could legit see G2 getting 30 kills here.
Yeah, that's for sure. And one of their weaknesses, I guess they say, is they like to play with their food. They're a team that they've made draft choices. You know, we always talk about how important the draft is in the meta and which champions are this and who's good at that. And they've made draft choices based off of fan signs, based off of Twitter polls. And they're out here toying with these guys often because they are a tier and a half better than anybody else in this league. And we saw them in the playoffs. They lost this Mad Lions squad in the opening week of the playoffs. They went down to the losers bracket. They crushed the losers bracket. They came back and then 3-0 or 3-1 Fnatic in the finals. I can't.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes they play with their food a little bit too much. So if every slate starts with G2, it also starts with whoever they're playing.
Right. I was just about to go there.
Yeah.
Great point. Because if you don't like G2 here, like Mad is definitely in play. I was literally just about to say that because of what you talked about at the beginning. G2 dies a lot. And I think that Mad, listen, if you think that they pull the upset here, they could be the top scoring team on the slate. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's definitely true. They themselves are kind of a slower team. They only average about 16 kills in their wins, just over. But they'll be kind of sitting back a little bit, turtling up, and sort of waiting for the G2 onslaught. And if they can hold off on that, they should be, like you said, one of the top scoring teams. If they pull this upset, they're 100% going to be in the winning lineup in my mind.
So I just have a general question because from watching, I was meaning to ask you this yesterday, but I'm glad because it's a hard question to text. I know that these games have kill totals, and I know that like they're more right than wrong because Vegas is more right than wrong always, and there's a reason they have kill totals. I find when I watch the games, though, and this is probably because I don't really understand the inner workings of the game and I don't really know how to play it. I find that the kill totals are very random from game to game. Like I find that one game could have, 40 total kills, and the next game between the two teams could have 15 total kills, and it really just matters on if guys die in team fights, et cetera, et cetera. Am I off there?
No, just based on how they draft and how they put a team together for each individual game, it can vary a lot. Generally here, this one, I think I've got it for 29.5 is what I'm seeing on Bovada right now, for an over under.
These
And
are
I would
best of ones,
say
right?
that's about right. I would guess it would go slightly over.
These are best of one series, correct, today?
These are
Okay.
best of one.
That
So
matters a lot. I want to emphasize that.
that does matter a lot. You can see, every now and then you see people group up. They'll come in as a 5-man squad or a 4-man squad and look to steal away the opponent's red buff or blue buff right away, just to get that little initial level 1 boost. If you do something like that and you mess it up, you give over 2 kills right away to the ADC, you're down 1,000 gold at 2 minutes. If you mess up an opening gambit like that, that can, screw you for basically the rest of the game. So that's why LEC is more proactive. They're more likely to go for something like that. We'll see the LCS slates coming up over the weekend. That's the North American League. They're a little bit more defensive. I always say they play not to lose, whereas these LEC teams will play to win. They're more likely to try something like that, knowing that if they're the ones that get that steal and come up with that first kill or two at 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, then they're set for success the rest of the game.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, and we'll go back on this game after the end, but just as whatever you have more to say about this game, go please. But if you just have to pick a side right now, favorite player, how much you want to use them.
Yeah, you should almost have. Let me look here. Yeah, whoever wins this game should be north of 20 kills, and I don't see anybody else coming real close to that. Fnatic, Misfits, Vitality, Shulka, maybe, but this is the premier game, and it's going to be, like you said, usually like to fade that first game. Not me. I like to jump in hard on the first game. That way I know if I need to tilt enter the late slate or not.
I know that.
Looking good. Oh yeah, 100% Mad Lions, super. And then they just get drilled. Okay, well now I can double down on those losses. But yeah, this is almost like a must situation.
I mean, so I guess let's go even further with that. Like, I agree, but are you captaining? Like, what? How are I guess we haven't touched on the other games yet, but are they your priority stack? Like, do you want 4 pieces of G2?
Yes.
So do I.
And I could almost see myself going. I won't go so far as to have a team captain to make it happen, but we've had slates where the support will get a pike pick, or like you've seen some of these fasting Senna lanes where they get a set or a Maokai, something like that for the support, and they'll score just as well as anybody else.
Especially
So I'm not afraid to do a support captain here to try and get to 4 G2 players.
Especially in these 1-game series.
Yep.
Because it just allows for more randomness. It just does. If you have a top that, all of a sudden gets on a very carry champion or whatever it is, and he gets 10 kills that game. We saw it yesterday with the guy from EG in the jungle have 100 in the captain spot. And I'm not saying that's going to happen today, but it could happen. And okay, see, for me, and I agree with you, and that's probably the way I'll go too. I want Perks at captain though. I do. I don't think anyone's going to use him there, and I think he goes off. The problem is it's really hard to use him at captain. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough unless you want to go all in game stack.
True, which honestly on a slate like this, and we've seen that before, these are the slates where a game stack could take it down. It's unlikely, but
yep.
If there were a game to do it, it'd probably be this one. All right, let's move on because we could talk about that game forever, and we got to pick another side too, or a couple other teams we like. I don't know as much about the next, any of the other teams as I do G2 because they're, like you said, the most popular team here. Vitality and SO4. Break it down for me.
All right. Schalke should be. So they're slightly favored here. They kind of had a real rough start to the last split. They shuffled a bunch of players in and out of their team. We played some EU Masters, and we had some of the Schalke guys on there.
Yes.
Yep, and then that's where they've kind of picked up some of these guys. They're going to have Lurox in the jungle today. They've added him from that academy type of team. So Vitality's got some brand new guys coming out of their developmental teams and from that EU Masters squad. So they're going to have their new jungler is going to be out there, Nidge. They pulled up Milika, new mid laner, and I believe they're still starting Jack Troll, their normal support. But given all this would be a decent spot to take. Here's your first underdog. You can reasonably assume a win. Vitality and Schalke, this should be close. A couple lower tier teams in the league. I like Schalke. Some of the roster changes they did make last year and towards the end, or last split, and towards the end of the split, you can really see they were perking up quite a bit, playing up and doing much better. So I like Schalke, but you can play Vitality.
So this is kind of a game where not really sure who wins. Don't expect like a ton of kills either way. Let me check ownership real quick and see where that's coming in at. Okay, so I have both these teams are very unowned. They both don't look like great options though. So I get getting to them, but they are probably not where I land. They're not priced really attractively enough, and there's just other better spots that we like more. And a lot of this is trying to fit G2 and like where we can go with them. So that's what we're trying to figure out. All right, next game, OG versus SK.
This Origin is like the clear number 3 team in this league. Yes. They play a really slow style though. And so you're always going to see them being like their team slot is going to be probably my favorite player. Just because they average about 14.5 kills in a win, and 18 in a loss. So if you want to get some SK in there, that might be a spot. But they're a more controlling team, a slower team, objectives, vision, things like that. And so typically I won't pay for their players, but they do have some really good players. Alfari, their top laner, he's one of the better tops in the league. They rely on him quite a bit. He doesn't die as much as some of the other top laners do. So he's got that going for him. No negative points is always positive.
Always is. Do you give SK any chance to win here? Because they're the cheapest team on the board.
Yeah, maybe 10%. They're working on some new guys too. Let's see here. What do I got? Too many pieces of paper and too many computer screens.
I get that.
Yeah, they've got their new mid laner, ZZ, that they called up as well. Gen-X, Trick, Crown Shot, and Limit. Yeah, they're going to be on the red side, which I like a little less for them. Blue side is that first pick. You get your priority champions, or you get a comfort champion. Someone's kind of like their main guy. So that I like for OG. They're typically the smarter team. I like that for OG. So it'd be hard to pull the trigger here on SK at plus 425. But to fit G2, you might have to do it.
If full stack G2,
but there's a lot of big favorites on this slate, and I don't really like too many of the dogs. So I guess you want to get your perks capped, and you might have to hold your nose and go for it.
It seems like SK is more of like a deep GPP play.
Yeah.
not really a good shot to win, so I'm not going to put too much of my money on them, that's for sure. All right, sorry, I'm a little distracted by RNG ruining my morning over here, so I'm going to try to get that out of my mind. All right.
Of course they are.
Of course they are. Although they're good. Maybe they can come back here. They're on 2-0 in the second half. All right. Rogue and XL. This is another game where the ownership is weird. First off, break this game down. Who do you think wins, etc.?
I like Rogue here, but this could be a little of my fandom showing through, because I've always liked their ADC Hansama. He's one of my guys, and
Sure.
Sometimes it's hard to break away from that.
I often struggle with that, so I know that feeling all too well.
And XL is bringing out their new top laner, Cries, so sometimes you don't always know what to expect with the new guys coming in, how they're gonna mesh with the squad. I think XL, this is a spot where you can get a dog if you want. They're a little more early game focused, and that's something that you would look for, I think, in an underdog in these one game sets. If they're a little better early, they can get ahead and then just kind of snowball that the whole way around.
Well, I know that yesterday in the Academy slate, one reason I got a little bit queasy about C9 was because of what we had read that said that, I can't remember, I think they were playing 100 Ds, that they were good in the early game and they just really couldn't hold their comps together well, or something to that effect. And that was damn, maybe they are pretty good, and they played pretty well yesterday. So I don't know. This is another one where it looks to me like one of these teams is getting a lot more ownership. Rogue is getting 4 times the ownership as XL. So it had me looking at XL a little bit because also they're really cheap.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's important.
Find something I can back up them a little more.
It really sounds like to me, though, you're much more interested in captaining a cheaper position and going with 2 faves than picking a dog and going with the ADC captain.
Yeah, I usually tell my buddy from work, Joe, that sometimes you just got to play smart and let other people make the mistakes.
It's a great way to put it. It's so true.
That might be where I end up on this slate.
I get that. It's a nice piece of advice, and I won't soon forget because it is very, very true. I'm thinking about last night when I played a ton of DMO just because I was well, the dog in the shot here, I want to be different. That was me who was other people played smarter and ended up cashing because I played stupid. That's a great way to put it. So I love that. People should take with that. If they don't take anything else from the video, they should take that. Okay, well, another game, it seems. So it seems okay, just to recap the first 4, Mad and G2, obviously, we got a big star around that. Vitality and SO4, and Schalke, excuse me, meh. I mean, you could pick either side here, but no side really stands out. OG and SK. OG will most likely win this game, but they're very slow. Don't really want to go out of our way to get them. And then Rogue and XL seems like another Vitality and Schalke type game, except maybe we like it a little more. Am I right there?
I'd take one of the Vitality Schalke guys over this game just by a hair, I think.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad I asked that then.
And I like Schalke maybe a little bit more than Vitality, but that's a spot where it's, I think you're getting a little bit of value on the dog because it is such a close game. If I can find Vitality's on blue, and so they'll get that comfort pick. They'll be the first draw there, and they're the dogs. So maybe I like Vitality a little bit to fit in some G2 stacks.
Okay, I get that. And then lastly, Misfits, I believe, versus FNC. Who FNC? You talked about Origin being the 3rd best team. FNC is the 2nd best team, correct?
Correct. These guys are Fnatic. They are. They're a team that, when you get to the international competitions, they are able to advance and move. They lost to Invictus in the finals the year that IG won the world title,
I
and
just
they
got
lost. Oh, go ahead.
I want to make a point because this is something that you just said. Going back to Origin, they are a big favorite, like you talked about, -4 or something. But they are currently, because of what you talked about with how slow they play, like their ownership is double what it should be. So I agree. That's just a great point. It's not always about how much a team has a chance to win because you look deeper when you get these bigger slates. Go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
Nope, you're okay. Fnatic, like I said, they lost to Invictus in the 2018 World Championship. They lost in the quarterfinals last year to Fun Plus, the eventual champions. They're the next best team in this league, and they're probably the second best team in the West. I'd say they're a little better than Cloud9 if we're ranking the entire world, but we're not doing that right now. We're just looking to see if they can beat Misfits. And
Right.
yeah, I think it is. I've seen some Misfits chatter around. They're starting a new support player today, DOS. Boy, the only thing Misfits have got going for them is Fnatic is another faster team. They're pretty much your 1B option if G2 is going to be your 1A on most of the LEC slates. They average 17 and a half, almost 18 kills a win. So they're another team that plays proactively. And even if they're losing, you don't really want to count them out.
Got it. All right. So the Misfits chatter, do you think that has to do with like pricing or what? Because they're also, I think, getting too much love. It looks like their ownership is double what it should be.
Yeah, I would almost
I
be
think
certain. Like if you're not taking G2, you're taking someone against G2. And I think if you're not taking Fnatic, you're going to try and take someone against Fnatic. But
I also
and I think
I
that's what
also
people are doing is they're just forcing to find G2 stacks.
Yeah, I also think people will like they want to roster ADC a captain. So I'm with you. I think I'd rather, especially in these one game series where you could have these junglers go off, even tops go off, even support like you talked about. That's where I would rather go and go with like I don't know if you can get G2 and Fnatic, but if you could, I mean something like that.
Yep. And I think people are from having, last 2 weeks of nothing but the 2 game slates. It's been pretty easy for everybody to get in the groove of building with one dog and one favorite. And, if you want your mid laner or you want your ADC captain, it's pretty easy to get when you just do a simple 4-3, one dog, one fave. So people are kind of in that groove. That's why that Academy slate was nice last night. Kind of snap you out of it and
Yeah,
get you in the groove for playing these bigger slates that we'll see over the weekend now.
for sure. I agree with that. It definitely like broke the mold into we were so used to just those consistent 2 gamers, and now we at least got a glimpse into what today should look like. So before we finish, I want to ask you, like, okay, we like G2 a lot. I know that we don't want to give away your roster and you haven't built yet, but like, do you have any idea where you're going to go with them? And usually I multi-enter on LOL, but I think I'm just going to play one lineup today. I just don't even want to deal with the multi-entry stuff. So, yeah, man, where do you think you're going to go?
Well, I'm here to tell you that there's nothing worse than rostering G2. Because of the way they play, they'll put their top laner on supports, and he'll play a support type champion up there. He's played top lane Karma before, and so you'll see Wonder with his great stats and kill participation, just spend all his time cruising around the map, buffing up everybody else and not doing a whole lot. So if you're gonna multi-enter today, make 3 lineups and just make them all 3 different combinations of G2 to hope you find that spot. The example I always use is Mickey X, their support. Every now and then he'll play Pike. Actually, anyone on the roster will play Pike, and Pike's ultimate is kind of like a big finisher. His death from below is a big chunk of damage, and they use to finish off a lot of kills and get the reset started with the cooldowns. So you can always see something like Perks is back in the bot lane. Okay, great. I'm so excited. I take all these other garbage teams that I can fit Perks captain, and then his support will go out there and outscore him because of the weird champion picks that G2 does. Maybe it's slightly more likely today that they play a little more subdued, a little more normal League of Legends, but that's also just not their style. So I would say maybe 4 different, 5 different variations of G2, one with each person captain, or even, just whatever you could get somebody else in the captain slot so you could have the 4 G2 players might be the way to go.
Okay, so I agree, but I also want to pick that apart one more time. Because if you make one lineup, if I make one lineup, I can only fit 4 pieces of G2. It's just that's what it is. So who am I leaving out? Like, I know it sounds to me like you don't know. It doesn't really matter because we just don't know. But you're making one lineup right now. Who are you leaving out?
If I'm making one right now, I'd leave out Wonder. I'd leave out the top laner.
Okay.
Because I've got Yankos, Perks, and Caps are all within roughly a DK point and a half of each other. So,
man, I'll tell you what, LOL is just like any other sport. Like, when it's going well, it seems so easy, and it's so easy to pick the winners. And when it's not, it's like, man, today, RNG is getting straight blasted. This series is over. I mean, not even close. Wow, I'm surprised, but that's why
that's my fault. I was the one that said I wouldn't even hedge today because I liked my favorites so much. So
no, that's not your fault at all. I don't think hedging was really the way to go here. I made a ton of lineups and I used 100% RNG, and I probably would do the same thing again tomorrow. Maybe they can turn this around, but this is disappointing, man, because they look so good. Definitely really disappointing, and you never know what's going to happen on this LEC slate today because RNG was a big favorite this morning.
Yep. I feel like RNG's done that to us before, too.
I'll tell you, it's easy to say now because hindsight's always 2020. Right. But I was like, man, RNG's been real good to me this year, and it seems like everyone's been hesitant. I know a lot of people liked Vici when they played last time, and now it's like everyone was all over them. And I get it. Oh man, I don't. Obviously, again, hindsight's 2020. LNG might be better than first thought. At least now I'll be able to get a few hours of sleep before the LEC slate.
Yeah.
I don't have to stay up watching this stuff. But all right, man, you got anything?
Nope. Every LEC slate begins with and ends with G2. So, Fnatic, if you want to pull a fade and kind of skip this first game, you're going to be looking to Fnatic with maybe a few OG pieces. But that's what it is. That's why it's kind of weird that DK put the championship on today's slate, the opener for the LEC. But
it just seems very random.
Yep.
But that's what we got, and there's a good opportunity to win money, and everyone's dealing with it. So thank you, guys.